Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Jai. Namaste Nrsimhaya.
Namaste Nrsimhaya. Prahlada Ladataine. Okay. We're going to continue where we left off yesterday. Okay. Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, 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 Rakshamam. Krishna, 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 Pahimam. Rama, Raghava, Rama, Raghava, Rama, Raghava, Rakshamam. Krishna, Keshava, Krishna, Keshava, Krishna, Keshava, Pahimam. Oh. We are starting the new chapter, chapter 76, yes. Deliverance of Shalva. After talking with his charioteer, the son of Daruka, Pradyumna could understand the real circumstances. Therefore he refreshed himself by washing his mouth and hands, and after arming himself properly with bows and arrows, he asked his charioteer to take him near the palace where Shalva's commander-in-chief was standing. During the short absence of Pradyumna from the battlefield, Dyuman, Shalva's commander-in-chief, had been taking over the position of the soldiers of the Yadu dynasty. Appearing on the battlefield, Pradyumna immediately stopped him and struck him with 8 arrows. With 4 arrows he killed Dyuman's 4 horses, and with 1 arrow his chariot driver. With another arrow he cut his bow into 2, with another he cut his flag to pieces, and with the last he severed his head from his body. On the other fronts, heroes like Gada, Satyaki, and Samba were killing the soldiers of Shalva. The soldiers staying with Shalva in the airplane were also killed in the fighting, and they fell into the ocean. Each party began to strike the opposite party very severely in a fierce, dangerous battle that continued for 27 days without stopping. While the fight was going on in the city of Dwarka, Krishna was staying at Indraprastha with the Pandavas and King Yudhisthira. This fighting with Shalva took place after the Rajasuya Yagya had been performed by King Yudhisthira and after the killing of Shishupala. When Lord Krishna understood that there was great danger in the city of Dwarka, he took permission. You want to read?
Of course I do.
Of course. Good.
He took permission. Well, thank you. From the elderly members of the Pandava family, especially from his aunt Kunta Devi, and started immediately for Dwarka. Lord Krishna began to think that while he was arriving in Istanbul with Balaram after the killing of Shishupal's men must have attacked Dwarka. On reaching Dwarka, Lord Krishna saw that the whole city was greatly endangered. He placed Balaramji in a strategic position for the protection of the city, and he himself asked his charioteer Daruka to prepare to start. He said, Daruka, please immediately take me to where Salva is staying. You may know that this Salva is a very powerful, mysterious man. Don't fear him in the least. As soon as he got his orders from Lord Krishna, Daruka had him seated on the chariot and drove him very quickly towards Salva. The chariot of Lord Krishna was marked with the flag bearing the insignia of Garuda, and as soon as the soldiers and warriors of the Yadu dynasty saw the flag, they could understand that Lord Krishna was on the battlefield. By this time, almost all the soldiers of Salva had been killed. But when Salva saw that Krishna had come to the battlefield, he released a great powerful weapon, which flew through the sky with a roaring sound like a great meteor. It was so bright that the whole sky lit up by its presence. But as soon as Lord Krishna appeared, he tore the great weapon into hundreds and thousands of pieces by releasing his own arrow. Lord Krishna struck Salva with 16 arrows and with showers of arrows. He overpowered the airplane just as the sun in a clear sky overpowers the whole sky by an unlimited number of molecules of sunshine. Salva struck a severe blow to Krishna's left side, where the Lord carried his bow, Shringa. And as a result, the Shringa bow fell from Lord Krishna's hand. This dropping of the bow was indeed wonderful. Great personalities and demigods who were observing the fighting between Salva and Krishna were most perturbed by this, and they exclaimed, "Alas, alas!" Salva thought that he had become victorious, and with a roaring sound he addressed Lord Krishna as follows. You rascal Krishna, you kidnapped Rukmini forcibly, even in our presence. You baffled my friend Shishupal and married Rukmini yourself. And in the great assembly of King Yudhisthira's Rajasuya Yagna, while my friend Shishupal was a little bit absent-minded, you took an opportunity to kill him. Everyone thinks that you are a great fighter and that no one can conquer you. So now you have to...
Nice humor today again. Mm-hmm. Now you have to prove your strength. I think that if you stand before me any longer with my sharp arrows, I shall send you to the place from you will never return." To this, Lord Krishna replied, "Foolish Shalva, you are talking nonsensically. You do not know that the moment of death is already upon your head. Actual heroes do not talk much. They prove their prowess by practical exhibition of chivalrous activities." After saying this, Lord Krishna, in great anger, struck Shalva on the collarbone with his club so severely that Shalva began to bleed internally and trembled as if he were going to collapse from severe cold. Before Krishna was able to strike him again, however, Shalva became invisible by his mystic power. Within a few moments, a mysterious unknown man came before Lord Krishna. Crying loudly, he bowed down at the Lord's lotus feet and said to him, "Since you are the most beloved son of your father, Vasudeva, your mother, Devaki, has sent me to inform you of the unfortunate news that Shalva has arrested your father and taken him away by force, just as a butcher mercilessly takes away an animal." When Lord Krishna heard this unfortunate news from the unknown man, he at first became most perturbed, just like an ordinary human being. His face showed signs of grief, and he began to cry in a piteous tone. "How could that happen? My brother, Lord Balaram, is there, and it is impossible for anyone to conquer Balaramji. He is in charge of Dwaraka city, and I know he is always alert. How could Shalva possibly enter the city and arrest my father in that way? Whatever he may be, Shalva's power is limited, so how could it be possible that he has conquered the strength of Balaramji and taken away my father, arresting him as described by this man? Alas, destiny is, after all, very powerful." While Sri Krishna was thinking like this, Shalva brought before him in custody a man exactly resembling Vasudeva, his father. These were all creations of the mystic power of Shalva. Shalva addressed Krishna, "You rascal, Krishna, look, this is your father who has begotten you and by whose mercy you are still living. Now you see how I killed your father. If you have any strength, try to save him." The mystic juggler Shalva, speaking in this way before Lord Krishna, immediately cut off the head of the false Vasudeva. Then, without hesitation, he took away the dead body and got into his airplane. Lord Krishna is the self-sufficient Supreme Personality of Godhead.
And because he was playing the role of a human being, he became very depressed for a moment, as if he had actually lost his father. But at the next moment, he could understand that the arrest and killing of his father were demonstrations of the mystic powers which Shalva had learned from the demon Maya. Coming to his right consciousness, he could see that there was no messenger, no head of his father, but that Shalva had left in his airplane, which was flying in the sky. He then began to think of slaying Shalva. Krishna's reaction is a controversial point amongst great authorities and saintly persons. How could Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the reservoir of all power and knowledge, be bewildered in such a way? Lamentation, aggrievement, bewilderment are characteristics of conditioned souls. But how can such things affect the person of the Supreme, who is full of knowledge, power and all opulence? Actually, it is not at all possible that Lord Krishna was misled by the mystic jugglery of Shalva. He was displaying his pastime in playing the role of a human being. Great saintly persons and sages who are engaged in the devotional service of the lotus feet of the Lord and who transcend the bewilderment and who have thus received the greatest perfection of self-realization and have transcended the bewilderments of the bodily concept of life. Lord Krishna is the ultimate goal of life for such saintly persons. How then could Krishna have been bewildered by the mystic jugglery of Shalva? The conclusion is that Lord Krishna's bewilderment was another opulence of his Supreme Personality. When Shalva thought that Krishna had been bewildered by his mystic representations, he became encouraged and began to attack the Lord with greater strength and energy by showering volleys of arrows upon him. But the enthusiasm of Shalva can be compared to the speedy march of flies into a fire. Lord Krishna, by hurtling his arrows with unfathomable strength, injured Shalva, whose armour, bow and jewelled helmet were all scattered in pieces. With a crashing blow from Krishna's club, Salva's wonderful airplane burst into pieces and fell into the sea. Salva was very careful, and instead of crashing with the airplane, he managed to jump onto the land. He again rushed towards Lord Krishna. When Salva ran swiftly to attack Krishna with his club, Lord Krishna cut off his hand, which fell to the ground with the club. Finally deciding to kill him, the Lord took up his wonderful disc, which shone like the brilliant
sun at the time of dissolution of the material creation. When Lord Sri Krishna stood up with his disc to kill Shalva, he appeared just like the red sun rising over a mountain. Lord Krishna then cut off Shalva's head, and the head with its earrings and helmet fell to the ground. Shalva was thus killed in the same way as Vasudeva was killed by Vritra Asura, the king of heaven. When Shalva was killed, all his soldiers and followers cried, "Alas, alas!" While Shalva's men were thus crying, the demigods from the heavenly planets showered flowers on Krishna and announced victory by beating drums and blowing bugles. At this very moment, other friends of Shishupal, such as Dantavakra, appeared on the scene to fight with Krishna to avenge the death of Shishupal. When Dantavakra appeared before Lord Krishna, he was extremely angry. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 76th chapter of Krishna, the deliverance of Shalva. And chapter 77, the killing of Dantavakra, Viduratha and Romaharshana. So a lot of killing happening here. This section of Krishna book. After the demise of Shishupal, Shalva and Paundra, a foolish demoniac king of the name Dantavakra, wanted to kill Krishna to avenge the death of his friend Shalva. He became so agitated that he personally appeared on a battlefield without the proper arms and ammunition and without even a chariot. His only weapon was his great anger, which was red hot. He carried only a club in his hand, but he was so powerful that when he moved, everyone felt the earth tremble. When Lord Krishna saw him approaching in a very heroic mood, he immediately got down from his chariot, for it was a rule of military etiquette that fighting should take place only between equals. Knowing that Dantavakra was alone and armed with only a club, Lord Krishna responded similarly and prepared himself by taking his club in his hand. When Krishna appeared before him, Dantavakra's heroic march was immediately stopped. Just as the great furious waves of the ocean are stopped by the beach. At that time, Dantavakra, who was the king of the Karusha, stood up firmly with his club and spoke to Lord Krishna as follows. It is a great pleasure and fortunate opportunity, Krishna, that we are seeing each other face to face. My dear Krishna, after all, you are my maternal cousin, and I should not kill you in this way. But unfortunately, you have committed a great mistake by killing my friend Shalva. Moreover, you are not satisfied by killing my friend. I know that you want to kill me also.
Because of your determination, I must kill you by tearing you to pieces with my club. Krishna, although you are my relative, you are foolish. You are our greatest enemy, so I must kill you today, just as a person removes a boil on his body by surgical operation. I am always very much obliged to my friends, and I therefore consider myself indebted to my dear friend Salva. I can liquidate my indebtedness to him only by killing you. As the caretaker of an elephant tries to control the animal by striking it with his trident, Dantavakra tried to control Krishna simply by speaking strong words. After finishing his vituperation, he struck Krishna on the head with his club and made a roaring sound like a lion. But Krishna, although struck strongly by the club of Dantavakra, did not move even an inch, nor did he feel any pain. Taking his Damodaki club, and moving very skillfully, Krishna struck Dantavakra's chest so fiercely that Dantavakra's heart was split in twain. As a result, Dantavakra began to vomit blood. His hair scattered, and he fell to the ground, spreading his hands and legs. Within a few minutes, all that remained of Dantavakra was a dead body on the ground. After the death of Dantavakra, just as at the time of Shishabal's death, in the presence of all the persons standing there, a small particle of spiritual effulgence came out of the demon's body and very wonderfully merged into the body of Lord Krishna. Dantavakra had a brother named Vidurarath, who was overwhelmed with the grief of Dantavakra's death. Out of grief and anger, Vidurarath was breathing very heavily, and just to avenge the death of his brother, he also appeared before Lord Krishna with a sword and shield in his hands. He wanted to kill Krishna immediately. When Lord Krishna understood that Vidurath was looking for the opportunity to strike him with his sword, he employed his Sudarshan Chakra, his razor-sharp disc, and without delay cut off Vidurath's head with its helmet and earrings. In this way, after killing Shalva and destroying his wonderful airplane, and then killing Dantavakra and Vidurath, Lord Krishna at last entered his city Dwarka. It would not have been possible for anyone but Krishna to kill these great heroes, and therefore all the demigods from heaven and the human beings on the surface of the globe were glorifying him. Great sages and ascetics, the denizens of the Siddha and Gandharva planets, the citizens known as Vidyadharas.
One more page, yeah?
Yeah.
Maybe two. Vasuki and the Mahanagas, the beautiful angels, the inhabitants of Pitraloka, the Yakshas, the Kinnaras, and the Charanas all showered flowers upon him and sang songs of his victory in great jubilation. Decorating the entire city very festively, the citizens of Dwarka held a great celebration, and when Lord Krishna passed through the city, all the members of the Vrishni dynasty and the heroes of the Yadu dynasty followed him with great respect. These are some of the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna, the master of all mystic power and the Lord of all cosmic manifestations. Those who are fools, who are like animals, sometimes think that Krishna is defeated, but factually he is the supreme personality of Godhead, and no one can defeat him. He always remains victorious over everyone. He is the only one God, and all others are his subservient order carriers. Once upon a time, Lord Balaram heard that an arrangement was being made for a fight between the two rival parties in the Kuru dynasty, one headed by Duryodhana and the other by the Pandavas. He did not like the idea that he was to be only a mediator to stop the fighting. Finding it unbearable not to take an active part on behalf of either of the parties, he left Dwarka on the plea of visiting various holy places of pilgrimage. He first of all visited the place of pilgrimage known as Prabhasa Kshetra. He took his bath there, and he pacified the local brahmanas and offered oblations to the demigods, Pittas, great sages, and people in general, in accordance with Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. That is the Vedic method of visiting holy places. After this, accompanied by some respectable brahmanas, he decided to visit different places on the bank of the river Saraswati. He gradually visited such places as Prithudaka, Bindusara, Tritakupa, Sudarshana Tirtha, Vishala Tirtha, Brahma Tirtha, and Chakra Tirtha. Besides these, he also visited all the holy places on the bank of the Saraswati river running toward the east. After this, he visited all the principal holy places on the bank of the Yamuna and on the bank of the Ganges. Thus, he gradually came to the holy place known as Naimisharanya. This holy place, Naimisharanya, is still existing in India, and in ancient times it was especially used for the meetings of great sages and saintly persons with the aim of understanding spiritual life and self-realization. When Lord Balaram visited that place there, there was a great sacrifice being performed by a great assembly of transcendentalists.
Such meetings were planned to last thousands of years. When Lord Balaram arrived, all the participants in the meeting, great sages, ascetics, brahmanas and learned scholars, immediately rose from their seats and welcomed him with great honour and respect. Some offered him respectful obeisances, and those who were elderly, great sages and brahmanas, offered him blessings by standing up. After this formality, Lord Balaram was offered a suitable seat, and everyone present worshipped him. Everyone in the assembly stood up in the presence of Balaram because they knew him to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Educational learning means to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, although Lord Balaram appeared on the earth as a Satya, all the Brahmanas and sages stood up because they knew who Lord Balaram was. Unfortunately, after being worshipped and seated in his place, Lord Balaram saw that Maharshana, the disciple of Vasudev, the literary incarnation of Godhead, still sitting on the Vyasasana. He had neither gotten up from his seat nor offered him respects. Because he was seated on the Vyasasana, he foolishly thought himself greater than the Lord. Therefore, he did not get down from his seat or bow down before the Lord. Lord Balaram then considered the history of Maharshana. He was born in a Sutta family, a mixed family born of a Brahmana woman and a Kshatriya man. And therefore, although Maharshana considered Balaram a Kshatriya, he should not have remained sitting on a higher seat. According to his position and by birth, he should not even have accepted the higher sitting position, because many learned brahmanas and sages were present. Lord Balaram also observed that Maharshana not only refused to come down from his exalted seat, but did not even stand up and offer his respects when Balaramji entered the assembly. Lord Balaram did not like the audacity of Maharshana and became very angry with him. When a person is seated on the Vyasasana, he does not generally have to stand to receive a particular person entering the assembly. But in this case, the situation was different, because Lord Balaram is not an ordinary human being. Therefore, although Maharshana Sutta was voted to the Vyasasana by all the Brahmanas, he should have followed the behaviour of other learned sages and Brahmanas present, and should have known that Lord Balaram is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Respects are always due.
I think we're done.
Okay, I'll just finish the sentence. Respects are always due him, even though such respects can be avoided in the case of an ordinary man. We're going to continue tomorrow, the killing of Dantavakra, and this is concluding tonight's session of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead.